Today I've been invited by the makers of Whiteout Survival to answer your most pressing questions in social media about the game. Things like how to get more damage in Crazy Joe, to how to get more damage in the bear trap, and everything in between. And for those of you wondering who I am, I'm Chisgule Gaming, and I've been covering Whiteout Survival for about the last 6 weeks on my own YouTube channel. That'll be linked down below, along with all the other socials where you can follow Whiteout Survival. So let's talk about your most pressing questions and the answers that I've learned, and this is based not only in my experience, but I reached out to other experienced players like my buddy Skillet to give you very detailed answers. So let's start with Crazy Joe. How do you get more points? And everybody wants more points because you really want the rewards from that event. And there's really a lot of details to explore here. And honestly, the next 4 or 5 questions are going to all be about Crazy Joe. But let's start with reinforcing players. The big picture of Crazy Joe is the dude is going to spawn in and everybody's cities in your alliance are going to get attacked. He's going to attack player cities on rounds 1 through 9 and 11 through 19. And then your headquarters is going to get attacked, okay, on level 10 and on level 20. So you can get points by defending not only your own city against these waves of attacks, but also by defending your allies. And the most common strategy for Crazy Joe is to empty out your own city, reinforcing all of the folks around you. And ideally, you pick people that are going to be online or are low on reinforcements, I should say, and are also low on reinforcements, to kind of maximize your point gain. So if you want to get the most points in Crazy Joe, there's a bunch of things you need to do, including reinforcing other players, making sure that those players are ideally online, because in certain stages of Crazy Joe, only player cities that are online are attacked, and ideally you get into your headquarters on level 10 and 20, because on those levels, that's the headquarters getting attacked and nothing else. So you got to be there if you want points. And like, spoiler alert, there's only room for, 15 people max. So if you're going to be one of those 15, you need to kind of get lucky. Not everybody's getting in there, all right? Now, another way you can do more damage is by focusing on infantry and lancers for reinforcing other players. If you reach the point where you have enough troops to actually just like pick and choose everything you want, as an early player to the game, as a newer player, I think you probably will be in the same situation as me where, hey, if I send my armies out of my city, literally all my troops are going out of my city. And I think it's the new players that are asking about Crazy Joe the most, probably. But if you're an experienced player, prioritize the infantry and the lancers in order to get more points for going to other people's cities, all right? So the next question is, during Crazy Joe, it seems every round I get less and less points instead of more. I've emptied out my city to others that have empty cities themselves. I always reinforce others with infantry and lancers first, which we talked about, okay? Only infantry to the headquarters, but my points are always the same. What other ways can I get more points? So this is very much a tricky question, and there's a lot that we could talk about. But when you go to reinforce another city, you can see the sort of number of reinforcements that are in there. So ideally, you're picking an online city that has low reinforcements or nobody else there at all. And if someone else is there and they're getting more points than you, it might be that they have a higher tier of troop. And that could make it so that they're getting a higher percentage of the sort of available points from taking out the things that are attacking the city. I mean, it's pretty obvious, right? The more people that are reinforcing a city, the fewer points there are to go around between all the different players. You got to split them up. All right. Now, if you want to strengthen your city for this event, my strong recommendation before you start running your armies out to reinforce other people is you go in here, you go to your barricade, hit the city defense button, and tap the garrison heroes cannot be deployed button. All right. This will make it so that when you send armies to reinforce other players, you're not going to accidentally send your garrison out of your city. It stands to reason that if you want to survive, you got to have a strong garrison on your city. And we'll talk a little bit later about hero gear and some ways to sort of strengthen your combat effectiveness. The next question is, what is the best infantry, lancer, sniper configuration, I think they mean marksman, to use for Crazy Joe and allied alliance headquarters? Thanks. So I think the answer here is infantry. Infantry are the highest scoring units in Crazy Joe, followed by lancers, then it's your marksmen. And in the early game, you can maximize your points in the headquarters stage with full infantry, but later on, you might need closer to a 70-30 split of infantry and lancers to actually succeed. That comes much later on though, so prioritize just sending infantry to your headquarters to start. Next question is, are there any tips for earning more points per march in Crazy Joe? I feel like we covered a lot of that already. Reinforcing a player that has low or no reinforcements, that is already online, and also ideally you prioritize infantry, okay? And then prioritize your lancers for what you reinforce with. Next, we're gonna talk about the hunting trap, AKA the bear trap, all right? First question is, what is the best formation in the bear hunt? Oh boy, there is a lot to talk about here. For rally leads, you're gonna need to pay attention to what the meta is for your generation of heroes. We're not gonna go generation by generation for each set of heroes and give some recommendations, but I can say at the beginning of the game, what you'll be looking at is things like, for example, I use these 3 heroes over here in Gen 2. Funny enough, as I mentioned earlier in the video, because I checked the button, they're not going to leave my city. But I'm using Geronimo, Molly, and Alonso. Before that, I was using Natalia, Molly, and Zinman. It's going to be your latest generation of attacking mythic heroes that are likely to do the most damage, but experienced players will be able to advise, ideally down below in the comments, on the best heroes for each generation. I would say the most important thing for a formation is actually the reinforcing players, okay? And when I go to reinforce, the key to that is making sure that you bring a correct joiner, okay? This is a topic that could be its own video entirely, but when you join a rally, and you are reinforcing somebody else's rally, okay, as a joiner, the skill that you contribute is the upper right expedition skill. It's currently selected over here for Natalia, as an example. Some of these skills are really good, and some of them aren't, like Natalia's expedition joiner skill. So as an example, your best joiners are going to be heroes like Jesse, who does 25% damage. You've got Jasser, who does 25% damage, okay? You've got Xiu Yun, who gives an attack boost. These are going to be some of your best joiners. You've also got Geronimo, a great joiner. This expedition skill gives you 25% damage up. Getting your joiner right is really the key. So in order to get your joiner right, my recommendation will be to go and make some presets. I've done that, money where my mouth is, where my rally is over here. Then I've got a Jesse-led army to contribute that 25% damage boost. My Jasser-led army for his 25% damage boost. My Xiu Yun, who's doing, I think, 20% attack, but when max, it's 25. Then I've got an empty army. Because rather than send the wrong joiner, it's better to send no heroes at all. See? Because if I send, for example, this hero as the primary, we can get a look at his skills over here. If I end up having a higher skill level than anybody else with Demolitions Expert, I'm contributing coal mine output, which does literally nothing. It actually does worse than nothing. It's ruining the strength of the rally. So the most important thing for your formation in Bear Hunt is going to be, as a joiner, sending the right heroes. Once you've done that, the percentage of troops you're going to need to play with for your joiners, I send almost every troop I have out of my city. In fact, I send literally every troop I have out of my city. So as a new player to the game, you just send everything you have. Experienced players that are in the end game that have enough troops have some composition of troops that will optimize their damage. They'll have to speak to what that is, and it's going to probably change based on the generation of heroes that they're using. Now, if you're wondering how to deal a lot of damage in the Bear Hunt event, besides using like the right joiners and increasing your tier of troops and, you know, doing the things to increase your own rally strength so that your rally punches really hard, if you wanted to do more damage to the bear trap, then you want to join the rallies led by people that are really strong, right? Just join the strongest rallies that your alliance is running. And that's how you'll get more damage, okay? In this particular run, I did really well joining the stronger rallies. I also happened to be one of the stronger rallies at the time slot for this time that we sort of do the bear trap here. But the point that I'm making is that the rally lead elevates all joiner troops to the sort of stats that the rally lead is providing. And so you need to contribute the highest tier of troop possible, but then the rally leader is contributing stats. The joiners also contribute a few skills, right? We just talked about that. But if you just join the strongest rally leads in your alliance, you will get way more damage.
Whiteout Survival. Play free now.